Rite Aid's covert surveillance program falsely ID'd customers as shoplifters, according to the FTC. So Rite Aid is banned from using facial recognition surveillance technology for 5 years in order to settle a Federal Trade Commission charge that it failed to protect consumers in hundreds of its stores, which is based on AI to ID potential shoplifters from 2012 to 2020. Based on the faulty system, the pharmacy chain's workers erroneously accused customers of wrongdoing in front of friends and relatives, and in some cases searching them, ordering them to leave the store, or reporting them to the police, according to the complaint. The retailer hired 2 companies to help create a database of tens of thousands of images of people that Rite Aid believed had committed crimes or intended to at one of its locations. Collected from security cameras, employee phone cameras, and even news stories, many of the images were of poor quality, with the systems generating thousands of false positives. Rite Aid failed to test the system for accuracy and deployed the technology, even though the vendor expressly stated it couldn't vouch for its reliability. And then this is just an example from the article. During one 5-day period, Rite Aid generated more than 900 separate alerts in more than 130 stores from New York to Seattle, all claiming to match one single person in its database. So in other words, this one person in less than a week went from New York to Seattle and stopped at like 900 different Rite Aid stores, according to this facial recognition technology. That's how bad it was. In one incident, a Rite Aid worker stopped and searched an 11-year-old girl, which sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen in my opinion, based on a false match. Black, Asian, Latino, and women consumers were at increased risk of being incorrectly matched. Further, Rite Aid did not tell consumers it used the technology and specifically instructed workers not to tell patrons or the media. I'm glad I don't live near enough a Rite Aid to make it worth going to one. That's all I got on that one. I will throw in one quick thing. I just listened to Your Face Belongs to Us by Kashmir Hill, which is a new book about the rise of Clearview. She makes zero effort to hide her political bias. I just want to throw that out there because it even annoyed me. But if even a fraction of her story is accurate, it is incredibly salient and disturbing, and I highly recommend the book. Just go into it knowing she's very much needlessly injects her political opinions, in my opinion. They weren't really relevant to the story, in my opinion, but the story itself is still very much worth a read.
The only thing this brings up with me is I just get frustrated that, again, it's hard to blame Rite Aid specifically for this. I just get annoyed that we live in a system where, especially in the US, where I think the wealth discrepancy is so large that companies feel the need to try to utilize these surveillance programs to try to just stop shoplifters, as if there's not better ways of handling that, and probably a way with higher efficacy anyway. It's just bizarre to me. One of my pet peeves recently has been I bring my backpack with me pretty much everywhere I go, and my backpack has my laptop in it, which has sensitive data on it. It has my nice headphones on it inside of it. It has lots of other nice things in there. My e-reader, a lot of times my phone and everything is in my backpack. I don't normally have my phone on my body. It's normally in my backpack. And I'll go into like a used bookstore that sells books for $2 a pop. And they ask me to leave my backpack up front on the ground. My backpack itself is like this nice $300 backpack. It's not something I just want to leave on the ground. And that frustrates me. I'm not going to leave a backpack with like $4,000 worth of things up front with somebody who's not paid to care or watch for it.
To protect your $5 worth of books. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. And so it's just frustrating how this is a thing. I understand shoplifting is an issue. I just don't understand what the best approach to it is. But clearly it's not this. And I don't know why they would have thought that this was... It's still ultimately relying on people having to approach someone else and decide if they're shoplifting or not. It's really just trying to, if anything, make a faster judgment off of less information to try to make that decision easier to make, which is kind of a screwed up thing to try to do.
I'm actually kind of surprised.
I made a formal commitment. I no longer go into any establishment that doesn't let me keep my backpack on me. That's my commitment. And if they don't let me in, then I'm set. That's it. That's fine. Like, my backpack stays on me or I leave. That's it. I'm not doing it.
Right. I was going to say, I'm actually surprised now that you mention it that employees were encouraged to go do this. I can only assume they were loss prevention employees, because in college I worked at a major department store, and like I remember being amazed that they were basically like, just let people steal things. It is not worth the lawsuit of you trying to do anything. And I even my roommate was in loss prevention, and I even texted him one time because I saw somebody tuck something into their shirt, and I'm like, hey, I literally saw this dude do this. Like, can I say something? And he's like, not really. And I'm kind of busy with something else right now, so I can't come and do anything about it. And it's like, Like, they would rather just let people go because the lawsuit of having you as an untrained person go up there and confront them is just not worth it to them. They'd rather lose the few bucks on the item. So I'm kind of surprised that they actually had employees like searching an 11-year-old girl. It's like, dude, that is such a lawsuit right there. And I don't know. That's just crazy. But no, it's you say like you're surprised that they use this stuff. It's because they're salespeople. You know, I say this a lot in my day-to-day life, and I'm pretty sure I've said it on the podcast before, is these companies just sell things, and that's their job, is to convince you that this technology is going to solve all your problems. Never mind the myriad of studies out there now that say that mass surveillance doesn't work, it doesn't result in a safer people, it doesn't result in a drop in crime. The only thing that drops is people willing to speak up and engage democratically. But there's these other people whose whole job is, if I sell you this system, I get a commission. So I'll tell you literally anything. It's like the SpongeBob episode with chocolate. Like, it'll make you live forever. Like, they'll say literally anything to make a sale. And these people don't know any better. You know, they're not mass surveillance experts. They're just a general manager trying to stop losing money on the store.
Yeah, I'm wondering too if, I don't know, I'm not familiar enough with the legal side of things, but as a company, if they have an employee who does something wrong, like you were saying, and they get in a lawsuit over that, that can actually cause real damage. But if they have this surveillance program that they utilize that gets it wrong, and that's the cause of them doing something incorrect, they can probably shift blame onto the program instead of something they did. And so, we're kind of seeing this, though. They've made so many mistakes, and they're not getting fined for this. They just can't use surveillance programs anymore for 5 years. So like, I think that there is also a little bit of responsibility that's shifted away when you use programs like this.
Well, that struck me too, is the article points out that the vendor said repeatedly, you know, they failed to test the system, even though the vendor expressly stated it couldn't vouch for its reliability, which I kind of get, because I've been in that situation before where the customer is like, I want this thing. And I'm like, no, you don't. You want this capability. This system is not the best way to do it. It's the cheapest way to do it. That's usually why they go with it. It's the cheapest way to do it, and technically it'll work, but I'm going to be back every single week trying to troubleshoot something or trying to fix something or trying to upgrade something because you're cheaping out and it's not going to work in the long run. And they're like, no, but I want this thing. So it hits a point where you get it in writing and say like, okay, I've told you this is not what you want, but you're insisting, so we'll go ahead and do it for you. And I feel like that's exactly what happened here, is the company was like, well, technically, like, this does what you've asked us to do, but man, I wouldn't use it if I were you. And they're like, no, we'll go ahead and use it. Okay, I'm writing off responsibility. Like, anyways, yeah, that stuck to me.